Yo, what's good? I appreciate this old school time I'm starting back when I used to start the shows late as hell. What's good, everybody? I appreciate y'all tuning in. I see the chat already rowdy. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Shout out to everybody watching. I do want to highlight somebody though, real quick. We're gonna get to the person who made the first comment of the day. But normally it's about the person who made the first comment of the day. Today is about the person who made the worst comment of the day. This person right here. this person right here. Just a non-believer and what the Commanders got going on this year. But it's okay, man. It's okay. It'll be all right, man. I understand. Shout out to Pretty Eyes Covington for dropping the first comment of the day. Definitely appreciate it as well. Gratitude to everybody. Real quick, I'm gonna make this video short. I thought there was some interesting things that went on today. We're gonna talk about some interesting things. We're gonna talk a little bit about criminal contempt, direct, indirect. We'll talk about that on the back end. But I think it's best to start this with let's pick up where we left off in the last video, talking about the legal counsel to Tiffany Henyard. And with that being said, there was an interview today. Looks like WVON tried to look like they tried to balance things out. I thought it was interesting that they didn't have the initial interviewer conducting the interview. This gentleman who did the interview the second time, though, I watched about 25 minutes of it, skipped through some parts, but he actually did what I would call a good job on the interview. He asked open-ended questions so that they could talk. He asked follow-up questions to get granularity on certain subjects. It definitely wasn't an ass-kissing interview. So shout out to him for doing a great interview. I thought it was very well done. But let's talk about this one quick point at the 40-minute mark where there's a question that's brought up with regard to, does Tiffany Henyard not care about the law or if she's getting bad legal advice? This would be a good way to start the show, start the segment. Let's get it.
An actual village of Dalton trustee. I am completely sympathetic to the.
Oh, real quick, I'm about to. I want to make sure Grace Levi is who I found this video on. So she does reactions and she pretty good. She the opposite of me. She let the shit play through without talking that much. So yeah, definitely go over there and check her out. All right, let's jump back into the video.
The enormity of the task that both of you have had to try and navigate, and you, Stephanie, being a new trustee, because the acts of this mayor have been so brazen. You probably have never had to even think of or even conceptualize of what types of rules you would have to put in place because you've never seen this before. Kiana, what are your thoughts?
You're 100% right. I've been involved in politics for 20 years in Thornton Township, and this that is probably a once-a-lifetime historical event.
I hope so. But I don't know. I fear that there's going to be some unscrupulous person who is going to run for this office in the future. They're going to see what this mayor, Tiffany Henyard, has gotten away with, and they're just going to be more emboldened. On the video that I did about her when they did the caucus, when they did the caucus to get her off the ballot, and she was even brazen then. She was being interviewed by the local media and saying, no, I will be victorious. And she said, just like Trump got elected, I'm going to get reelected. I'm going to come in for the win. I can't believe that she is this brazen. But let me go back to you, Stephanie. As a new trustee for the municipality of Thornton, have you spoken to the other trustees? Is there an agenda to rein?
And the people in the room for me outweigh the people in the room for her.
Now, her first tactic was to try and sue and say that
Yeah.
what the Thornton Township did by having a caucus as opposed to a primary, she tried to sue and say that is illegal. I want to let both of you answer this question. Is Mayor Tiffany Henyard really that ignorant of the law? And I think I know the question or the answer, but I want to give both of you the opportunity to answer it. Stephanie, I want you to answer it first. Is in your dealings with Tiffany Henyard, is she just so wantonly and abjectly ignorant of the law, or do you think that she's getting bad counsel and perhaps that's the source of her hubris?
My personal opinion would be that she is not ignorant of the law. From where I sit, it would seem that she's comfortable moving the way she does because she doesn't take accountability for her actions. She blames other people. So I believe in her eyes, she's not going to have to take accountability for anything because she can point a finger all the time.
You really think she's that bold that she just thinks that there are not going to be any repercussions suffered for all of the malfeasance that she is guilty of, or that she allegedly is guilty of?
I believe so. I believe she blames each person around her. She's picked a person from her team. They're each going to take the hit for something, and I believe she thinks it's going to get her off.
Kiana, you've worked more. Stephanie is new. She just got elected. Congratulations, by the way, on your election.
Thank you.
Kiana, you've been working more intimately with Mayor Henyard and for a longer period of time. Is it that she's ignorant of the law, or has she just insulated herself and created this echo chamber where she thinks that that she won't be held accountable?
No, I don't think she's ignorant of the law. I think that she has the type of mentality, and she'll just push the buttons. I'm going to see how far I can get. And she's been doing that, and nobody holds her accountable for her actions, so she keeps pushing and pushing. And even as Stephanie states, she always has someone around her that'll take the fall, or someone around that she can point the finger at. She said it plenty of times, even in a meeting where when the trustees were trying to put her on the bank account. No, I don't want my name on the bank. I don't want it's let somebody else be the front of her malfeasance. But
I thought that was a interesting question because I think I know the answer. I think she's a little ignorant of the law, and I think she gets bad legal advice. I think it's both. I don't think it's one or the other. I do believe it's both. I thought that was an interesting place to start at. Now, hey, the person who had the first comment of the day, we applaud you. The person who had the worst comment of the day told me that left a comment that said in the Thornton Township Electoral Board meeting at the 2-hour 38 mark, Max Solomon made an appearance. He took another L. So I had to delay the scramble around and found the video. And I found the video, but when I got to the part, it was a little bit difficult. I'm gonna give y'all the quick version of what happened and why he took an L today. And it like all the L's, I think they were justifiable L's. So essentially, they're having this hearing to address these grievances that were brought up by Keith Price, and I can't recall the other guys at this name at this point. So Max Solomon makes an appearance with those two individuals who have their grievance filed with the board. And so, they ask, hey, are you going to make an appearance? Are you representing these gentlemen in their complaint? Well, they get to the business, and essentially the very first thing he does is try to make a continuance. I don't know. Is one or two reasons you make a continuance. One, I guess, well, it could be a few reasons, but generally it's you haven't met your client, you need more time to prepare, you scared shitless, or you're just trying to stall. It definitely wasn't the first one because I'm sure he's been in communication with these guys, filing these grievances over the electoral process. So it's definitely not that he haven't ever met with these guys. I personally think it was a stalling tactic because with elections right around the corner, why would I want to continue it? I would want to actually resolve it if I think I can resolve it favorably. Or if, but hey, if you think he can't resolve it favorably, he probably would ask for a continuance. Of course, they denied his continuance, and so the argument that the opposing counsel was making, it was two part. One, well, it was really one argument. The argument that they were making is, and I'll tell you all the terminology for it, but essentially, Max Solomon filed multiple legal causes of actions, multiple legal pleadings that related to the actual same instance. And that's something that you generally can't do. So what you can do, I can file a complaint and sue someone, and then I could supplement and amend that complaint and add other stuff and more facts and identify more defendants. So you can supplement or amend a complaint. You can do joinder where everything occurred out of this, they call it the same common nucleus of operative facts. Everything that you're suing on in these two lawsuits occurred in the same common nucleus of operative facts, the same facts and circumstances. So it should really be one lawsuit, not two lawsuits. And like I said, you can amend the lawsuit. You can do a joinder claim where you can add another party to your lawsuit to join them to the lawsuit. There's a bunch of ways he could have went about doing this outside of. I mean, could you imagine like that would be the equivalent of, let's say you were on a bus. Let's say you were on a bus and you were traveling somewhere on a church. You know, churches always go to see plays. Y'all on the way to see a play, and the bus gets hit by a semi truck from the Pepsi Cola truck and some from a Pepsi Cola company, and some people are jacked up. That would be the equivalent of filing a lawsuit for every person who rode the bus against one company when it all occurred out of the same facts and circumstances. So that's really what gave him his basis. Not to mention that it wasn't a great argument, but that's the reason why he ended up taking the L. The video was a little. I had to actually put the captions on to be able to read what they were saying and figure out what was going on. But yes, he did in fact take another L. It's just, hey, it is what it is. This dude continued to take L's with procedural things. Not even. I'm not even. We're not even talking about legal arguments. He continued to take L's with procedural things, and that's weird. And before we pivot into the contempt, one person actually did leave a comment in the last video. They were like, "How is this dude able to like graduate law school and pass the bar exam, not knowing how to do these basic things?" Now, I'm not saying this guy's a great lawyer at all. I'm actually pretty sure I'm saying the opposite. But I will tell you, just because you graduate law school and pass the bar, that has nothing to do with an administrative procedural aspect. Most people, if you took them directly out of after passing the bar and took them to the courthouse, they wouldn't know how to file a damn case because that's some law schools do, or they may have a certain class you can take, or you can get that experience in an internship. But generally, you just sitting in the courses and you're getting all the theoretical concepts and elements to offenses and learning about all the different type of civil and criminal claims, all that procedural stuff. People rarely get experience doing that. I remember being in law school actually. After I graduated, I was like, damn, I should have like interned at like a public defender's office so I would have knew all of that shit instead of having to learn it after I graduate. Only difference in Max Solomon's case, he graduated in 2012, so that's not really an excuse, but it is plausible, not with over a decade of experience, but it is plausible. And I can see a scenario where a person can graduate law school, top of their class. Not saying he was at the top of his class, someone can pass the bar exam, but still not know the procedural or administrative aspects. So now let's quickly pivot to the contempt. All right. I'm going to go ahead and pull up this article. Do I want to listen to them tell their story? We might do it for a few minutes because I don't want to be on here. I don't want to be on here too long. Let me go ahead and pull this article up so I can read it. Oh man, I gotta hold on. Let's close that up. All right, let's go here. No, we're not gonna play a sound on that. Y'all not about to get this free advertising, lady. Hold on, let's wait till this ad go off first. Oh man, and I did some dumb shit. All right. There we go. My bad. I should have pulled this up on
was back in a courtroom today. The mayor of Dalton was back in a courtroom today. A business owner took legal action after she says the mayor refused to sign paperwork she needed to open her business. Regina Waldrop was in the court for today's hearing.
This is the third time this year that this case has been before a Cook County judge. Today, the owners of the business are able to walk away with 2 of the 3 liquor licenses they applied for, while Mayor Henyard is facing a serious charge from the judge. Frustration and relief for a small business owner.
It's about time.
Tiffany Henyard left a Cook County courtroom with the liquor licenses she needs to open St. Patrick's, a family-owned restaurant and banquet hall on Lincoln Avenue in Dalton.
This should have been over, like he said, in November.
Henyard took legal action after she says she wasn't able to obtain licenses from Mayor Tiffany Henyard, who also serves as liquor commissioner. On Wednesday, Cook County Judge Cecilia Horan gave Henyard until 5 p.m. Thursday night to sign the licenses, but that deadline not met. In court Friday, Henyard signed them after the judge threatened her with contempt. After the licenses were signed, the judge found Henyard in indirect criminal contempt, but she wasn't taken into custody.
There are different kinds of contempt. What that means is that in the presence of the court, the mayor was disrespectful to the authority of the court because she was asked by the judge, will you sign the licenses, yes or no? And instead of answering the judge's question, she was, she talked in circles.
what? Somebody wrong. Either she said the wrong thing or he said the wrong
So
thing.
because of that, the judge held her in indirect criminal contempt.
Max Solomon is Henyard's
Just question the licenses, yes
Hold
or
on,
no.
real quick. I'm confused. I
mayor-
think somebody said
she
something
wasn't
wrong.
taken into custody.
There are different kinds of contempt. What that means is that in the presence of the court, the mayor was disrespectful to the authority of the court because she was asked by the judge, will you?
Yeah, he misspoke. So she was held in indirect contempt, not direct contempt. What the difference is, he's explaining direct contempt. That's not what the court held her in. The direct contempt is you're doing it directly in front of the judge. He's saying that it was actually for her being disrespectful in the court, but all the articles that I saw, and it was multiple sources, so I'm assuming that those multiple sources are correct, and maybe he just misspoke. It said that the judge held her in indirect contempt, and the reason he held her in indirect contempt, that's not following a court order outside of the presence of the judge, and the reason he held her in indirect contempt because she was actually ordered to sign the licenses so these people can get their business moving. These people spent, in the audio I heard, they spent over $6 million to get this restaurant up and running, and they haven't been able to operate because they don't have a liquor license. God, I'll tell you right now, I love a good steak, and I ain't going to no steakhouse if they don't serve no liquor. So I don't give a damn who cooking the steak, okay? So, but she was held in indirect contempt. That's because she didn't do something that the court order outside of the presence of the judge, which was you were supposed to sign it on this date. You didn't. Even though he's right that, yeah, she could have been held in direct contempt for being disrespectful and affecting the proceedings in court. I think he got a little word twisted in explaining it here.
Wasn't taken into custody.
There are different kinds of contempt. What that means is that in the presence of the court, the mayor was disrespectful to the authority of the court because she was asked by the judge, will you sign the licenses, yes or no? And instead of answering the judge's question, she was, she didn't talk in circles. So because of that, the judge held her in indirect criminal contempt.
Max Solomon is Henyard's attorney.
It's very important for the people to understand that the documents that were signed today had another entity on there. And
So that was the holdup on your.
that was the holdup. That was the only thing.
Kamara says she's lost time and money. She says she wants Henyard to pay.
We want her to be fined. We want her to pay my client's attorney's fees, and we want damages.
We are wasting money every day. This building, nice building that people could have used and jobs.
As for that criminal contempt charge, the judge is giving Mayor Henyard time to respond. This matter heads back to court next week. Reporting from Daily Center, I'm Regina Waldrop, NBC5 News.
All right, so let's go ahead and get out of.
Hi, Megan.
No. Lord, I clicked on something. I'm getting all this free advertising on my page. Let's get this shit up out of here. All right. So yeah, judge finds Dalton Mayer in indirect criminal contempt and liquor license case. So yeah, I think her attorney just misspoke. She was held in indirect contempt for not following a court's order outside of the presence of the judge by not signing on time, even though Max Solomon said there was something different that caused the delay. That's probably cap. It wasn't direct contempt. Now, I will tell you, she actually goes into detail on the story during the WVON interview. The owner of the restaurant, I was going to play it, but it's just too long. It's just too long. I don't want to play it. She does have another cause of action outside of attorney fees for this case. What she would bring would be a civil lawsuit. Well, what I would probably recommend her to bring. Okay, you open up a restaurant. The restaurant hasn't been open yet because you don't have a liquor license. And now you have this period of time that lapsed because you couldn't get the liquor license. And the court essentially have to force her and hold her in contempt to actually get the liquor license. There's a civil cause of action called tortious interference with a contract, where essentially if the owners of the restaurant can show that they would have been making money through some type of contractual obligation. Well, maybe we were set to open on, let's say, December 17th. And from December 17th to January 15th, we had our restaurant booked for max capacity events on 3 separate occasions. And on those occasions, we would have earned on average, let's say, whatever, $30,000 in a night based on the amount of people that were going to attend, them ordering, tipping, all of that good stuff. There's a legal concept called tortious interference with a contract, where if a person intentionally interferes with a business contract that causes you to lose money, you can knock them over the head for the actual loss in money that you received. And if I'm not mistaken, don't quote me on this, I believe you could get treble damages, which is 3 times whatever the loss amount is. So in that example I gave, if over the 3 events they had planned, let's say $30,000 per event, they lost $90,000, she could have potentially put a 3 times multiplier on that to get that if she was successful in that civil cause of action, to include attorney fees. So there is some recourse that could be taken through some other civil actions that would have Tiffany Henyard on the hook for a lot more money. Now that we know what contempt is, and I want to make sure I was right, I looked it up. I was like, let me make sure I'm right. Yeah, direct contempt, indirect contempt. I think it was. Oh boy, got a little bit confused in his words. Direct contempt is witnessed by the judge. Much less is required as far as a due process for the case, as opposed to indirect contempt. So remember, the news reporter said that they have to come back and have a hearing. That's why they have to have a hearing. If it was actually direct contempt and it occurred in front of the judge, there's no need to have a hearing because the judge saw the stupid shit that you did or didn't do in front of him. When it's indirect contempt, is outside of the presence of the judge. So due process just means fairness. In order to be fair, you have to give the charged party the opportunity to be heard. Now, here's where it gets interesting, and I want to give this judge an actual round of applause for actually having a pair and doing this job. I personally think she probably should have been held in contempt when she tried to appoint the sheriff, the deputy, the police chief, whatever he was, who wasn't even authorized to do his job after the court told him not to. And the judge just gave her like a stern warning. He should have held her in contempt over that, but I don't know. I guess he just wanted to be hands off. But shout out to this judge for actually having the heart to, hey, if a person being held in contempt is disrespectful to the court. So if you're a judge, you can't take it. You hold out an order, you want people to follow your order. Not following your order, yeah, you should slap somebody over the head. So here's where it gets interesting. Now they talk about the jail time. Is there any jail time associated with this? And like most criminal charges, yes, there is jail time that's associated with. I'm not even going to pull it up. I'm going to just read it to you all. Uh, in the lovely state of Illinois, criminal contempt of court has a penalty of up to 180 days in jail and a maximum fine of $500. Illinois law does not have a statute. Uh, uh, Illinois law does not have a statute for contempt of court. The rules for contempt of court come from common law. That just means some old ass archaic law from in the 1700s. But yeah, so she could be looking at time in jail, a fine of up to $500, up to 180 days in custody. Is she going to get 180 days in custody? That would be fire. Like, yeah, if the judge was like, even if the, I would, hey, real, hey, if the judge was like, you know what, hey, I'm not gonna give you 180 days, but if he actually, like, even if it was for a weekend, yo, hey, if this judge was like, yo, she been kind of wild out here, she didn't follow my order, she caused these people to lose out on business dealings because they couldn't get their restaurant off the ground, and she just egregiously violated my order. I'm holding you in contempt, and you gotta go. You gotta report. Some judges will do this when you're held in contempt, and like it's not. I mean, going into custody is always a major thing, but when you're held in contempt, but they're not gonna beat you over the head, they'll tell you, hey, your client has a weekend in custody. They got to report on like a Friday, and then they get out on a Sunday, and then they just schedule a time to come in. But if this judge even gives her a weekend, yeah, if this judge give her a week, judge, do that shit. Judge to be like, you know what? You just blatantly didn't give a damn about what I said. 180 days, that's a little crazy for contempt. I've seen people do things in court that were direct contempt that was crazy work. So for this, 180 days would probably be a little bit wild. But if this judge actually just had the heart to like, yo, you know what? We're gonna throw her in jail for a weekend. That would actually be dope. You know what I mean? That would be pretty cool. So I don't know. I thought that was interesting. Hey, a shout out to appreciate you. I'm clapping when I got a hand clap thing, but I appreciate you for becoming a member of official co-counsel. With that, I appreciate you. Thank you. Hey, I never ask for super chats and all of that stuff. Only thing I ask is y'all watch and hit the like button. So when you all support and do the extra things, I definitely appreciate it. So a round of applause for you for becoming an official co-counsel to the channel. Let me go ahead and hit up some of these comments real quick, and then we're gonna go ahead and jump out here. Black law school matters. Facts. I agree. I was just having a discussion. I was having a discussion with another attorney I work with, and they said that they declined to go to Howard. It was actually hilarious. It's like I didn't go to Howard because when they sent me the letter saying I got accepted, it had a mistake on it. I thought that was hilarious. But they declined to go to Howard because they wanted to go to like a top 5 law school. And I was like, you should have just went to Howard. I said, like, I don't know, you probably would have got like a full ride. Like after my first year, I was going to transfer to a bougie school and they gave me a full scholarship and I didn't even apply for nothing. I actually thought it was a mistake. I was like, wait, I think y'all gave this to the wrong person. But hey, your boy was, hey, I bust my ass in law school. So her point was no, she believes that her attending this top 5 law school specifically got her where she was today. And I think it's just the opposite. I was like, I don't know. I went to HBCU and we do the same shit. Like, I don't know. You could have went to the HBCU for free and did the exact same thing. I don't know. I do agree that a name of an institution may give you a heads up, but generally, I think you burn your own path for the most part. Not in all examples. We know there's some anomalies, some good old boy networks, but generally you make your own path. Taxpayer money. What's going on, Common Sense? I appreciate you. I'm glad you were able to join in today as well. Let's see. Okay, he didn't have his microphone on when he started talking. The sound was much better once he turned it on. He's awful in my opinion. Okay, yeah, because when I couldn't hear anything he was saying, I had to literally turn the closed captions on. So I didn't go through the whole thing. Once I saw him getting beat over the head about filing multiple lawsuits, multiple different legal actions based on the same facts and circumstances, I was like, nah, enough of this. Enough is enough. Hey, let's I'm gonna lift my foot up, like, go ahead, let this dude breathe. I did find out about his background though. Shout out to everybody in the channel. Somebody sent me some information on his background. It was interesting because questions came up in the last live stream. They was like, well, if he's teaching in school, what the hell is he teaching? I hope it's not law. But they didn't say what he taught, but his background was a pretty interesting one, but I'm not sure. He may be independently wealthy because they said he used to be a teacher. They said now he in private practice. I don't know if he has other clients. He could have a long ass client list for all I know, but it's still unclear as to, I don't know, the nature of the representation, the compensation. Is it something he's doing pro bono? It's all kind of weird. The Tiffany scam yard. I like that. That's a good one. Yeah. Nah, she did. I'm saying if the judge actually required her to go into custody for being held in indirect contempt, yo, that judge, he would be the MVP for 2025 thus far. But hey, shout out to Thornton Township, the village of Dalton. Like all the shit that wasn't going on in y'all favor in years previous, like 2025 is looking up. Like 2025 is definitely looking up. Let's see. Interesting. That lady spent $6 million, her and her husband. The guy on the radio show asked, like, wait, when you created this restaurant, how much did you put up? Who are your other investors? She's like, nah, it was just me and my husband. They spent $6 million and haven't been able to operate because they don't have a liquor license. That's fucking crazy. They should have held her in direct contempt for not obeying. The problem with Tiffany is no one will slam her like she does everybody else. The judge should have. He could have done. He could have held her in direct contempt, but the direction he chose was indirect contempt. And I don't know. Like I would have had to see the court proceedings to see if, based on what I've seen a lot of people held in contempt. I've been threatened and been held in contempt. Judges are finicky when it comes to direct contempt. Some judges just don't want you to challenge them. They want you to say, well, I disagree, and they just want you to shut the fuck up. And if you do that as an attorney, I think you're goofy. It's your job to fight for your client. So sometimes you gotta be like, I understand you think you got a decision, judge, but let me school you on some shit real quick. I think that's just kind of your job. So I would have had to observe it to see if it's something that rose to a level for direct contempt. But direct contempt is finicky with judges. I've seen judges. I've seen a judge. Nah, I ain't gonna tell that story on here. Maybe another day. Maybe I do that. I do that story for the members only. That story kind of wild. But yeah, you can be held in contempt for something major or something minor. I seen somebody. If someone would fall asleep in court, literally, people will fall asleep in court. Not even the participants, not the people who are on this side of the bench, like the defendants, the plaintiffs, victims. No, like if someone fell asleep in the courtroom, I seen the judge. He would be like, "This dude falling asleep in my courtroom. He must be high." I used to be like, "What the hell?" Like it was the most unconstitutional shit ever. He would say, "He falling asleep in my courtroom. He must be high." Bailiff, go give him a drug test. And if he fails the drug test, I'm gonna hold him in contempt. I was like, Jan, I think that's illegal. But yeah, judges, they got a little bit of deference when it comes to direct contempt. I think the smart move was indirect contempt. You were supposed to sign it on this day. You didn't. All she's gonna do is come back. We already know what her argument is gonna be. there was something different on the form. Solomon already said it. She's gonna come up with some bullshit argument, and then we'll see if the judge is gonna be like, well, your argument makes sense. But I agree. I hope he slammer needs to be some needs to be some accountability there. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Hey, I agree with that comment 100%. I want everything to work out in their favor. And I'm gonna be honest, I think the new trustee that was elected, I listened to her on the interview, and she actually sounds like someone who really has the best interest of the municipality at hand. And that's all you can ask for in that situation. Let's see. A weekend is at least, I'm not saying 180 days. That would be crazy. But have the hearing, let her come and give her a bullshit excuse. Find that excuse insufficient. Have her go sit down on a weekend. Pick a nice, hey, you got to report Friday at 5. Now, I'll tell you what'll be wild, because this is what happens. I've seen those contempt. Okay, when can you report? Because, of course, her attorney going to say, hey, she's the mayor, Your Honor. Election season is going up. So the judge is going to pull out a calendar and say, okay, you're doing a Friday. This is what you do. You're doing a Friday. Which Friday can you select? You would be amazed at how many people fail to show up for the Friday that they're supposed to do their weekend. All they have is a weekend, and they have to be there at 5 p.m. And the judge will say, if you should come up late, if you come smelling of alcohol or marijuana, any of those things, they won't accept you. You'll have a no-show for court. They'll issue an order for your arrest for failure to appear. The judge will tell you all that, and people will still show up late. People will be like, oh, I was going away for a weekend, so I decided to roll one up. So I wouldn't even be shocked if she had a weekend. Would she actually show up? Y'all think she would actually show up if the judge told her she would have to do a weekend? Let's see. For someone his height, she's probably paying him big money. That's why she's nonchalant. She thinks paid lawyer is, I don't know. I don't know. Some of the best attorneys I've ever seen were like public defenders. Like, real talk, if I caught a case right now and I had to think of the top 3 people I would want to represent me, 2 of them are lifelong public defenders. That's how nice they were when it comes to trial. I don't know. Like, I know that's kind of I don't know. I see why some public defenders suck ass, just like some mechanics suck ass. But I understand both sides of it. But generally, I'm gonna just be honest. Like, 3 years of experience as a public defender doing trial work is probably more impressive than 6 years of experience in private practice, where you probably have had not even 20% of the trials that the other person had. That's just me, but I'm a little biased. Oh, it's too loud. My bad. I'm about to blow your eardrums out the frame. My bad. I'll make sure I turn that joint down. My bad. I'm about to blow you. You probably. Oh, I hope you don't got your earbuds in, dog. My bad. Let's see. She got to make sure that she knows how to be a social person before she go to jail, because she'll be at the bottom of the totem pole. Man, Tiffany Henyard might have people in there making her bed like she was Diddy or something. I don't know. I don't know, man. She might be right at home. She like, hey, I don't know. A weekend in jail? I don't know. But they are in Illinois. I don't know. Maybe, yeah, I don't know. Nah, a weekend in jail might be crazy work. Tiffany thinks she is too pretty and important for jail time. No, she probably wouldn't show up. Yeah, I don't think she would show up either. Or she would show up late, or she would have some excuse. And I don't know. I mean, you are the mayor. If you can't make a valid excuse not to do that shit, what good are you? So she probably would make up some excuse. Mm. Oh my god, that's the most hood booger thing I ever heard. That was I did see in the article, no, not in the article, uh on the interview where Tiffany, the owner of the restaurant, said that Tiffany Henyard showed up late to court, but I didn't know what her reason was for. Like, that's the that's a. I mean, like, I get it, man. Like, hey, I got kids. I remember when they was little. You gotta find babysitters for them and all that shit. Like, especially if they different ages. Like nobody, but like you couldn't find a babysitter, man. You better bring your child to court with you. And the daughter like older too. She only got one daughter, right? Her daughter not like a newborn. Her daughter like older. Like that's crazy. That's a terrible excuse. Out, yeah, she lucky. She probably could have been just held in contempt just for showing up late. Actually, the judge wants to be the guy who has her. Yeah, that'd be fire if he does that. We're gonna do a poll. Will Tiffany Henyard get jail time? One, she still has to have a hearing. So I guess there's a two-part question. Will she be found guilty of indirect contempt for not signing the order? I think the answer is yes. I mean, unless the judge is just soft as hell, I think the answer is yes. Sign it on this date. You didn't sign it. I don't give a fuck what the excuse was. You should have figured it out and signed it and did what the hell I said. So that's just me. But the other question is, will she get any jail time? We know not 180 days, but I'm thinking a weekend. Report Friday. It should be. I would do that shit like, I don't know. I can't recall. Did they say when the hearing was? I would do that shit like a weekend nobody want to miss. She'd be in jail during the Super Bowl. I would be like, all right, you need to report to jail. Super Bowl, I think, is February 6th. So she would report to jail like February 4th. February 4th, and like I have her report late too, so she missed the game. Report February 4th at 10 p.m. Then you can get out Sunday at 10 p.m. I have her report at the worst possible time. That's crazy. Let's see. All right. So here's the scenario. All right, I'm about to get ready to jump off, but here's the scenario, right? You've been wrongfully accused of a crime, right? And you look at it and you think, this is relatively easy. You've been wrongfully accused of a crime, but you already know you're going to have to, you only get one choice. You can either A, represent yourself, or B, you can get Max Solomon to represent you, but it's absolutely free. Now, your life is on the line. This isn't a civil case. This is like your freedom is on the line. You talk about potentially 20 years in jail, 20 years in prison. It's the difference between going home and not going home for a long ass time. Your life is on the line. That being said, Max Solomon did go to, he went to Valparaiso Law School. That's not a bum law school. He graduated. He passed the bar. He clearly has an understanding of enough. Now, he may not file your paperwork right. But he probably knows how to make some legal argument for you, whether it's a good legal argument or not. Would you represent yourself, or would you rather have him for free? That's the question. She thinks she's Donald Trump. Only difference, she's a female. She's a she, and the special. Yeah. She's not that powerful. She's not the proper hue. It's yeah. She not going. She could keep calling out Trump all she wants. And hey, shout out to her. That's actually smart. Donald Trump like issuing out those pardons. So hey, if she gonna just if she gonna glaze them up in hopes that she may have to get a pardon later on. Eric Adams doing the same thing in New York. I don't think that's a bad strategy. Eric Adams like, yo, they got me on a federal indictment. I'm trying to get these migrants up out of here. I need to meet with the border czar ASAP. Eric Adams on a straight glaze status, and I think he's doing that twofold. One, because I think migrants are destroying his economy. But two, I think he think he can potentially get a pardon. Come on, man. Kwame Kilpatrick got a pardon. You don't think Eric Adams will get a pardon? I don't know. She looked like she needs a break. That's funny. Let's see. I want to know who the mentor is that's supposed to review all of Max's paperwork. I think it was the sister immediately after. I can't recall her name. I'm sorry. I can't recall her name, but I remember immediately after the caucus, they were doing like an interview, and it was Solomon and Henyard, and it was a sister who was standing there with them. Looked very professional. I heard her speak. She was very well spoken. I can't recall her name, but I'm assuming that she was his mentor, if I'm not mistaken. But she's been out of the picture for a while. Like, who the hell want to be a mentor? Yeah, that's crazy. Throw in the clink and just talk about a corruption. Yo, Monday is going to be the big day where I don't know. I think we want it to be a big day. I'm skeptical of how big of a day it's going to be. I'm skeptical about how much detail is going to be in Lori Lightfoot's actual report. Initially, it was just preliminary. It was a lot of things. It was a lot of discussion about monies that were spent, but we don't know on what, who was the person who authorized the purchase. She doesn't have any subpoena power. I don't know. I think it's going to be interesting. We're going to clearly see a bunch of money was spent, but I don't know if we're going to have the details of, okay, $40,000 was spent at Amazon. It was spent on this card. This card was associated to this particular person, and this particular person's job was this. And I interviewed that person, and that person said that they got a call from Tiffany Henyard saying, purchase this on this card. That's the type of detail I'm looking for. I don't know if we're going to get that from somebody doing the investigation without any subpoena power. She's late for everything. I agree. She walked in. She can have Max be the babysitter. That's what she should have did. She should have. Nah, you don't want that dude watching your kids. But she could have had. He might have did better at that though. Lock the heifer up. He's playing game. Hey, it takes its time, and I'm gonna put. I might do it next week because I'm gonna be out of town next week, so I might put that video out next week. I got a video I did about it's probably about 15 or 20 minutes long, but it's about Trump's DOJ and the impact on prosecuting public corruption cases, like we see the case with Tiffany Henyard. She wanted every property. Let's see. Nah, it's a whole different ball game when you're talking about levels of power and Donald Trump. Y'all see Donald Trump was in office for 2 days and pissed like every federal worker off. He's like, y'all got to go back to work. Everybody was livid. Like people were genuinely upset over the fact that he said y'all need to go back to work. It was crazy. Yeah, I mean, that shit's stressful. That shit gotta be stressful. You can only put on the front, you can only put on the smile for so long when you're dealing with that amount of stress of not even a federal investigation. Let's put that to the side because that's being look like it's just being slow rolled. I think the most stressful thing for her is she's about to go from making $300,000 a year to, if she lose both of these jobs, her income actually might be fucking like nothing. It- that's crazy. Trust me. I know. I had 6 months where I lost a job and I was making 50% of what I was making before. And that shit sucked. Fortunately, I ain't had no damn crazy ass debt. I had an emergency fund, but a 50% pay cut for 6 months is fucking hard to do. Could you imagine a 90, 80% pay cut? Like, yeah, she literally may not have a job. That's what I think is the most stressful. I don't think I don't think that clearly she don't care about election and winning to actually help people. I mean, I think that's obvious. The sole reason that she wants to win, that she needs to be reelected, is so she can demand the salary that she has. Because I just haven't seen any other skill set that would allow her to demand that type of salary in the market. There's a market out there, the marketplace, and your skills are matched against your competitors in the market to determine what your overall value is. And I just don't see her having a value that's going to warrant a six-figure, $200,000, $300,000. That's crazy as hell. She could literally possibly be like on some welfare type shit. That's what I think stressing her out. I think she's more concerned about that as opposed to the indictment. Like literally, she might be waiting for an indictment to come because she may need 3 hots in a cot if she don't win these elections. That's what's stressing her out, the lack of money. I actually heard her lawyer, Mr. Solomon, argue before the township election board today. He was awful. He lost. They fed him his lunch. Yeah, everybody was going in on him. Yeah. Yeah. Did you get a chance to do some research before the trial? I mean, yeah, everybody generally, because trials are, you know how long it takes for a trial to be. I've represented people on serious charges, and they were in custody for, and of course, we know the government, you have to have a speedy trial, but that's like just language disused. But I've represented people who their cases were so complex and obtaining the evidence was so ridiculous, where they probably sat in custody for years. I mean, we see that all the time. They sit in custody for years before the what Young Thug in that YSL case. They just was like, all right, man, you got 2 years. You already been in custody for 2 years. We're gonna give you a split sentence. I think he did 2 or 3 years. You got 2 or 3 years. If you fuck up on this 15-year probation, you do 20 years. So Max doesn't make good legal arguments. Max said today, I believe when making his argument, I need his ass to know what he's talking about. Yeah, and that's the other thing too. And I'll tell you this: this is actually something that's interesting. Y'all won't believe this, but if you're having an argument in front of a judge, a board, something like an electoral board, a lot of times they do not know the law. They literally do not know the law. And I know y'all probably thinking, how could a judge not know the law? Because judges are just sitting up that bench on that bench. They hear all these cases over and over. I can remember, I'm trying to think, I think it was a probation case where they were trying to revoke my client's probation, and there was a change in the law that applied to probation, and the judge was completely not aware of it, to the point where I'm explaining it to him. Me and the prosecutor, we well aware of it, so we're arguing these nuanced points. I actually give him credit because I knew it was new, so I knew some judges, they just like, oh, probation. Did he do what he was supposed to do? Did he not? If he didn't, send his ass to jail. But I knew the judge didn't know about it, so I actually printed out the case and I had it in my binder. And as we were making the arguments, I was like, Your Honor, it's in case XYZ, permission to approach. We actually approached, gave him a copy of the case. And I give that judge credit because most judges would probably feel disrespected in that regard. But this judge was actually cool. He was like, okay, well, I'm going to take a recess. He said, let's meet back up in about 45 minutes. I'm going to take a recess because I want to read over this case. So a lot of times, judges, people on committees, they aren't aware of the law. So it's your job as the attorney to teach them what the law is. And the other thing is, this sounds crazy to say, but no one knows you made a mistake unless you present to them that you made a mistake. So when my son was little, anytime he would do something and he would mess up, like I can remember he was playing the drums. I think he was in church and he was playing the drums and he messed up and he just was like, and I was like, what the fuck? This dude got to stop watching The Simpsons. Like anytime he would mess up something, he would just go like that. I was like, dude, nobody knew you messed up. All you had to do was go back to the pocket. You would have had it. Nobody would have known. It's the exact same things when you're in court. When you're making your argument, sometimes you misspeak, but nobody, now is the difference. If you misspeak and it's error in the law, that's problematic and it would need to be corrected. But oftentimes you're talking, you're giving an argument. If you say something and you think like, damn, that I could have said that a different way. Nobody know that you made the mistake. It would be like me filing an objection and I file an objection for the wrong grounds. The judge probably isn't even going to know that it's the wrong grounds if when I file my objection, I say it with confidence and it's not unequivocal. Like, Your Honor, I object because I believe this is hearsay and a violation of due process, but I'm not sure. They're going to be like, keep saying what you were saying. Sit down, counselor. So, that's with everything you do. If nobody really knows that you mess up or you don't know what you're talking about, if you present it in a confident way, in a confident manner. You represent yourself. Yeah, you get a chance to do research before your trial, and you got a whole law library on your own. You got all of that. You can have all the resources to do research that Solomon would have. Yeah, I don't know. I've seen some people represent themselves and they do fucking knockout jobs. So let's see. The lawyer said the judge asked her if she would sign the license, but she wouldn't answer the question directly, but talked around it. Yes, I got to get some clarity on that because the article said indirect evidence. I saw like 2 articles that said indirect contempt for her not signing on the day that she was supposed to sign. Hence the reason they were back in court today. But then the attorney in the video attached to the article that said indirect said it as if she was held in direct contempt. It has to be indirect contempt, though. It has to be. He has to have held her in indirect contempt because direct contempt wouldn't require them to come back to have a hearing on whether or not she did it because the judge just actually saw it. So the fact that they got to come back to have a hearing over it, I'm leaning towards he held her in contempt for not signing the documents on the date that he gave her to sign it. That was outside of his presence. That's why they have to come back to court. Otherwise, if it was direct contempt, all right, you're in contempt, go to jail, pay $500. That's probably what would have happened. Let's see. Real estate businesses are the worst. Let me see. Late, but I hear no, it's all good. Nobody late. Oh, let me see. I'm trying to make sure I get these comments real quick. I know they're running a big ass deficit. I don't know. I don't know if that would qualify them to actually be officially bankrupt, but I know they're running a big ass deficit. But I mean, honestly, a lot of municipalities and cities are running a deficit. Hey, my city running a $700 million deficit. The neighboring state, I think they had a $2 billion. Maryland broke as hell. DC broke as hell. Virginia was the only DMV region that is actually at a surplus. Hey, you got part of this. You got to look like you know what you're doing, and you got to talk with confidence. That's literally. I've seen people had attorneys who are trash attorneys, but that attorney presented well, and when they talked to that client about their case, they had enough confidence to convince that client that you know what, this person is actually fighting them by best interest. A lot of clients will walk out of my door because I never lied to clients. They tell me some story and tell me what happened, and I'd be like, hey, I'm gonna keep it honest with you. Those facts are terrible. Hey, those facts are terrible. And I like those facts are terrible. And some people don't want to hear that. I always like, if your shit garbage, I'm gonna let you know, hey, your case is actual garbage. However, even though your case is garbage, we do have some points that we can argue for defense. And in the alternative, if you are convicted or you decide to take a plea, we have some factors that we can highlight to the court in mitigation. It's some roundabout shit, but that's just kind of how the process works. But yo, that's it for this video. I'm about to jump off here because I gotta get up early and make a long drive tomorrow. I'm so happy. I mean, I'm a miss my son, but I'm happy that this dude's going back to school. Like this dude, man, my grocery bill been high over the last 6 weeks. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. When you like, I kind of get it now. Like, I get it. He's on break and he did a good his first semester. But as a parent, when your kid's like older, this sounds wild as shit. I know this is supposed to be his break. I get it. He did very good his first semester. I get that. But when your kids are older, it bothers you to come in and I just be like, what you doing? Nothing. I'd be like, man, you ain't got shit to do. You don't want to see your kid doing nothing. I don't know what it is. It just makes me uncomfortable. Like when I walk in the room, you should just jump on your laptop and I ask you what you're doing. You should just be like, oh, I'm just filling out. I'm just looking at some job opportunities. Just say anything. I don't like to see you doing nothing. It just makes me uneasy. Maybe I'm just, I don't know. Maybe that's just a me thing. But I'd be like, I feel like you're doing nothing too much, man. I know you're on break, but how much nothing do you got to do? Shit. You ain't got to do nothing to get ready for the next semester. It's fucking weird. But anyway, yo, I'm out. Y'all have a good one. Y'all take care. Have a great weekend. Make sure y'all check out the games on Sunday, especially the Commanders game. Because when we win, I'm going to highlight a comment because a certain person, a certain one of our co-counsels, they about to get ousted. We about to send them over there with Max Solomon. They're going to be fired from DFD co-counsel, and they're going to be Max Solomon's co-counsel. Y'all have a good one. Be blessed. Peace.